All right, so we're going to get back here and get started with game number 2 of our broadcast today. This is the first game between Silverglen and Mryellow. Uh, I know they had a little trouble scheduling this game, so it was really supposed to be last Monday afternoon. They ended up playing until Wednesday or Thursday, I think. Let's see what we got here. Mryellow playing Throne Room, Silverglen playing his trusty I Want That Map deck. This will be Silverglen's replay link that we are watching, so we'll be seeing things from his point of view. Mryellow playing a pretty conventional, like my father, Walkling, Insurrection, Aim High combo, Throne Room, and Silverglen playing Alert My Star Destroyer as his alternate second effect. So we'll see him get the Finalizer out pretty cheap and possibly a Chimera with a Grand Admiral thrown aboard. Oh, and Silverglen's watching us in chat. Awesome. So we got a pretty decent hand here. He's got Hux, he's got Snoke. They'll get him some used pile pulls, and a couple of troopers, including both of the FN03 guy who cancel people's game text, which will be pretty good. Now, I just want to double check because see if he. Let's see. Nope. Luke is the resistance agent. Okay, so Luke has no immunity. Luke is the resistance agent. Just want to see who he picked, if anybody there. Mryellow goes first, gets out both docking bays, one from hand, one from reserve deck, and then he's going to go ahead and play Fly Casual to get the Tanev. Tanev is pretty clutch in this matchup because when you're bouncing between Jakku and Starkiller base and things like that, moving away from the Finalizer, you make Jakku, the Starkiller base, a battleground, so you can drain for free and get around battle plan. But then when you move away, Darkseid is at a non-battleground, so then they have to pay for their drains the following turn. It usually can make a pretty big difference if you can keep Tanev alive. Silverglen's going to go ahead and get a couple locations out, get some extra force going, draw a few cards. We see some interesting interrupt choices with Close Call and Gravity Shadow. Gravity Shadow is a great card, which, as we just talked about, you're bouncing back and forth between the two systems. This will either prevent you from doing it or blow the whole damn ship up, which is just about as good of a move as you can get if you can pull it off right. There's no easier way to destroy a light side starship with a bunch of pilots on it than just wait for them to move away or chase you and blow the whole thing up. All right, another boring turn 2 for Mryellow. He wheezes for the Boss Nash Chamber, he deploys 3PO, and he's just going to cycle some cards. Looks like he's really just going to kind of wait and see what his opponent decides to do. Snoke goes used. He pulls a Spectre. We see PVs in the used pile, along with the Chimera and the other site. He does get PV this time with Kylo. And he will deploy the Spectre. And we'll see if he gets the Saber to go with it. Yep, he's going to pull the Saber out. He's going to leave the Finalizer floating. I don't know. I probably would have played that differently. I probably would have had the Finalizer in my hand already and then would have used it to reveal for PV to get the deploy restrict minus. But with Hux in his hand already, I don't know. I'm sure it works out fine either way. All right. 13 force, now a Jedi Council Chamber, adding even more force for Mryellow. He's going to space first. Tantive plus Bail Organa. Bail keeps the ship from being targeted by weapons. It also adds a battle destiny. Port a Corvette, add a destiny, can't be targeted by weapons. Also does things adding to force drains where you have other Alderaanians, including himself. So this is actually a drain of 3. And Leia, whichever she comes down, would also make a bigger drain. He adds Rey, gets a card out of his used pile. So that's pretty solid. 12 force, though, is enough for ship and guy. So hopefully he's got something up his sleeve. I'm sure he does. There'll be a barrier or something. But he is going to force his opponent to pay to drain, which kind of tells us that he doesn't have enough force then to do anything about this drain at the system. Oh, wow. So he drained for 3 at the site, because this site, if you control the First Order leader, is drain +1. So he lost the battle planes from used, which he 3PO'd back. And then he top-decked General Leia and Profundity. Then he plays a card that we don't see all too often. One I'm certainly fond of, but we don't see it all that often. Aversions in the Force. You just lost more than 2 force to a drain. Deploy on opponent's location. You lose no more than 1 force from force drains here. And at any time you can put this effect in your used pile and draw 2 cards off the top of your reserve deck. So it's a immediate effect 5 that you can take into hand, but don't do that again. That when you get drained for 3, now this site will be a drain for 1 for the rest of the game. It's immediate effects, so you can cancel it with control, but we don't see too many dark side decks playing control these days. Control set for stun is about what you'll see, and very few dark side decks use that card in the current environment. So this will probably be a drain of 1 for the foreseeable future, if not the entire game. Now he used don't do that again, so obviously I'm going to scroll back up because maybe I missed it. If he pulled it into hand, when he pulled the don't do that again, there's allegations. He rescued. Yeah, he just took it into hand the turn before. So, Silverglen could have opted not to add 1 with the lightsaber, which then would have kept this as a drain of 2. That's just all I was double checking there. Lightsaber modifiers are optional, so he could have chosen not to use it, but he also at the same point in time just he's going to get his finalizer, so he's going to give up his drain modifiers. I guess he got strategic out, so he can cancel the force drain at Jakku by deploying one of these first order guys here. He temporarily flips, but he's going to move Snoke and Kylo out to this next site. This will become a drain of 2 out here. So basically, this is always going to be a drain of 1, whether he has a first order guy there or not. We get a quick peek at Mryellow's deck. Not much going on in there. Oh, but Silverglen does pull a weapon of a Sith shield, so I guess he just saw a weapon lev. And Luke's going to go with Yoda. All the way over there to the village. And he pulls There Is No Try as well. Now, this particular Yoda, Keeper of the Peace, is the one who blocks Force Lightnings and limits both players to one battle destiny. Mr. Yellow puts Walkling out of play now that he's got 2 Battleground. He didn't need them, no Coward out or anything like that. But he does retrieve the Profundity, which he will very likely need in this matchup in the near future. Silverglen's got quite a few Force active, and he'll use that to drain at the Forest, and then I'm sure we're going to see this Finalizer. Oh, there goes the Weapon Lev off the top. Doesn't mean he can't play it back with Solo, though, so. There comes the Finalizer, which does get hit with the barrier, and we don't see any type of canceller for said barrier in hand. So I would expect to see PV and Hux get deployed. He'll deploy Hux last. That way he's got the most cards available in his used pile to search. And then he's used 3 of his 4 searches, just waiting on Phasma, who he probably has a good chance to get from his used pile here. Also has a Chimera that he can grab. Takes a barrier of his own. Mr. Yellow did retrieve Profundity at the end of his deploy phase after deploying Luke and Yoda. So he would be able to, if he's tracking it, which I'm sure he is, because he's that quality of a player. He's going to activate to it, Interrupters activate, and take Profundity into hand, which then would deploy a lot cheaper here. So getting barriers is a pretty safe call to make sure that this battle is somewhat limited. But even still, it's not a great spot for Darkseid, depending on whatever else Mr. Yellow has in hand, and he does activate down to 11. I'm going to safely assume that that's the Profundity he just took into hand. And still no lightsaber for Luke. A couple characters in there, though. Not the greatest destiny, but not terrible either, especially when some of those characters are Jedi Lukes. So there's the Profundity. That will get hit with said barrier. And we'll see what other pilots he's got for that Profundity. Well, there's Solo. Civil Disorder. That's an interesting choice as well. You may not play Rebel Barrier. So he already used his barrier and lost his barrier, so this is a great time to deploy Civil Disorder. Senators deploy +2. That includes your own. But his Senator's already on the table, so no point, no harm in not playing it now. Whenever you initiate battle, you can retrieve your topmost non-EPP, non-maintenance character. Particularly in this case, that would get him back General Leia. I believe it's the topmost card he lost last turn. That's probably the one that he would end up getting back if he were to battle this turn. He's getting 3 Destiny between Solo, Rey, and Bail. Here, Rey adds 1 to the total. If he can get somebody else down like Anakin, who adds 1 to each, this would, even with Profundity being excluded, this would still be worthwhile to initiate battle here. Obviously, there's a potential for Imperial Command, limiting light side to 1 Destiny draw, but that's kind of what they want to do, is bait that command out so they can grab it. Oh, we got a Rebel flight suit as well, which would then let him cancel said command. This is probably not going to go well. Oh, we get a Jyn Erso as well. He's going to drop a card from hand with Luke. That'll probably be the force he uses to battle. He's going to battle here. Profundity gets excluded. And Sybil lets him retrieve, which is the General Leia that he lost earlier. And we get 3 Destiny. And this thing is only immune to less than 8. He's got to play the close call here to subtract 3 from it. Now he could have used the Rebel flight suit to cancel that. Piloting a battle may cancel a non-immune to sense interrupt. But he doesn't, so he's got 3, 6. This is -1, 7. Ray adds 1 to the total, making it 8, and this ship is only immune to... What's the ship immune to? It's on PV. Is it less than 8 or less than 10? With the resistance character, it's less than 10. So if he cancels it, the ship would not be immune. And both pilots would die. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you guys in chat know something I don't. I don't know why I didn't cancel that. Maybe we just didn't get there yet. Nope. Eight guys watching. Nobody has any ideas why I didn't cancel that? Okay, good. Then I'm not the only one. I'm sure, yes, you want to save the flight suit for the Imperial Command later, but if you're looking at the possibility here of being completely immune and just pitching a card as opposed to losing PV and Hux, I'm sure he's thinking long term. Alright, so we've got no Force Drain because Jin's blocking that one. Yoda's kind of hung out to dry by himself. He's going to get a couple of troopers in his face here. We'll get Yavin Sentry to keep him from dropping multiple generic guys, but he's going to save the generic guys to cancel Force Drains. He takes the command. I guess that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you want to save it for the command, but command doesn't really do a whole lot if there's no pilots. No, I mean, obviously, yes, we know he's got Thrawn, and I guess he could have Thrawn in a 10-card hand here. Oh, he's got It's a Trap, which he will use to cancel the battle and keep Yoda safe. It's another clever card we don't really see too often outside of things like QMC, but certainly very strong and very usable in any situation. And Silverglen will go ahead and shuttle all those guys up now that they failed to battle successfully. So now he's got extra Destiny with Phasma. He'll flip his objective now because his resistance characters control 2 locations. And they only flip back if they don't occupy 2. Is that what it is? If you don't occupy 2 battlegrounds, or if the agent, who's Luke, is at the site. Mr. Yellow interrupted his activate phase to get something. Yoda gets the drain off. The drain gets canceled by a trooper. So the Saber's in there. Lightside's own system is in there, so that's a 0 that's floating. That's never a good thing to have floating through your deck. And Luke just shuttles back down. He moves Profundity over. He goes to move the Tantive over, and here's where we're going to see that Gravity Shadow card. He draws a 3. A 3 would be the Destiny equal to Solo's ability, which would blow the whole ship up. Just like we talked about earlier. Yoda moves over. Well, Silverglen's pulled 4 shields and doesn't have a shield available to pull Coward or anything like that, so it's going to go ahead and spread out a little bit. But now it's going to come down to whether or not he can find his other ship, the Chimera, which we just saw in his reserve deck, and Thrawn here, and match up and go blow up this Profundity. And obviously we're going to see some of these troopers potentially shuttle back down. I have to think this game would have gone a lot differently if Hux and Peavy weren't aboard that finalizer, but I guess we'll never know. So we get a drain of 2. And Mr. Yellow loses Clash and Anakin off the top of his deck. Tries to reveal Thrawn. No joy. And we'll get some more characters coming down in front of Luke. And I guess we'll see if the finalizer is going to go chase Profundity around. Or whether he's okay with Mr. Yellow spending a force to drain. He's only got 15 cards left face down, so quite a few in the lost pile already. Darkseid is certainly ahead on both life force and board position at this point. He leaves himself 2. There's General Leia going after Snoke. That'll retrieve him a few cards. And a Padme. So there's a Destiny plus a Destiny to attrition. And one of those should be Louisa that he just put back. I'll use Leia to retrieve 2 cards for free. Get back the Anakin and the Clash that he just lost. He did not pay to drain. He also uses Civil Disorder to retrieve a guy and retrieves the Luke. So he just got 3 cards back, giving himself a little bit more breathing room. Padme adds the draw to attrition, so he's going to draw the 5, and I'm sure something else that'll be good enough to get rid of Snoke. Something that he 3PO'd. Ooh, he draws Krennic. Padme, they're both immune to that. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate for Silverglen there. 5 and a 4. So Snoke's going to die, and Lightside will not have to lose anything, which is unfortunate because they do have a couple of characters that they potentially could have done something with to clear this site back out. But with both of them living there, it's a little bit harder. And it's also an interior site, so there's no always thinking possibility. Profundity moves back. Yoda bounces up. Will Luke come up as well? Yep. He'll bring Luke up as well. It'll flip the map objective to the 7 side, but there's not too many cards available for them. They can stack the Gravity Shadow, I guess. And try and blow something else up. A little harder when you've got ability 6 pilot. It's just a drain of 1 here at the village. Pitches an extra copy of Padme. A couple of duds in there. 2, 2, 2. Add Mataka. Mataka lets Kylo move. During your deploy phase, may use 3 floors to relocate Kylo from here to same site as a Resistance character. It doesn't say Resistance agent, it says Resistance character. So that's going to let Kylo bounce to the adjacent site here, where he can then battle Padme and Leia. That's clever. He's got an extra Kylo in his hand. He's got a couple of First Order troopers to make sure that he hits. He also has this Force Freeze card. You can cancel the game text of Padme, so he wouldn't get the extra Destiny, which he does. And then we'll see if he's got anybody else he wants to add just for forfeit fodder. Yeah, he'll add 1 more trooper. And we're going to get Thrawn to the finalizer as well. But he doesn't have enough Destiny to battle in both places. And swing. These guys... What are these guys for? I hate when that happens. The troopers forfeit for 3. You'll make them immune with the trooper assault. So now he's got a lot of power. And if he's going to hit Padme, pretty likely. No, we saw it was... Oh, yeah, because she's -1 from each guy. Like, we saw it was a bunch of 2s. He should miss, but... each of the First Order troopers makes the defense value -1. So those 2s will hit Padme. And if Lightside has to lose a Force, they lose a Rescue in the Clouds off the top of their deck. We could see him play the Close Call again as well to make sure he loses nothing here. Like I said, I had to pay 1 to battle because of the map objective, or to draw battle destiny. I'd expect him, yeah, he'll Close Call that to subtract 3 from it. The troopers are immune and Kylo's immune to less than 4, so now Darkseid loses nothing here, and then they can just slide Mataka over. They win the battle. Mryellow has to lose 2 Force because of Kylo's text. It was a very successful battle for Darkseid there. They clear the site. They lose nothing of their own. They cause 3 additional force loss between Kylo's Saber and Kylo's Game Text, and really cleared out Mryellow's hand. And now they've got really solid board control here. I'll move Mitaka over to solidify, even though they do have the kick, but he doesn't do anything over there, and there's no force left for light side to move Jin, so there's no need to worry about that. He brings just Phasma up, leaves the other troopers behind. Curious. Dark Tide Knight, Mryellow lose another force. Things are certainly going the way since that gravity shadow on the Tantive. They are going dark side's way this game. Captain Hera comes down. She would add a Destiny, except for Yoda, who limits both sides to 1. And also stops them from being redrawn. Rey shows up as well. Jin breaks cover. Will we see Luke shuttle down? Nope. He's just going to move over to Narshada there. At this point, Mryellow is really just trying to grind out as many extra cards as he can to keep the total differential low. Force Darkside to keep deploying cards to the table. Right now they're looking at total force loss of 4, drains of 1, 1, and 2. And Mryellow's going to top deck some cards. Oh, we see a General Grievous. Down after Jin. Both sides will draw Destiny. Jin has no immunity, so she's going to die. Grievous is immune to less than 4, so there's a chance, I guess, he could live. Not that he really needs to. Oh, he drew a 3. I have a bad feeling about this. This is the one that retargets stuff. Retarget, interrupt, or routine effect, or relocate an effect deployed on a location to another appropriate location. So I guess if you're worried about expand the Empire on your Boss Nash Chamber, blocking your drains at your battle planes, that would be a card to move it. You could also retarget people trying to use interrupts, Ellis, that kind of stuff. It's a very open-ended card. Kylo moves over. With only 8 cards left down and 4 in hand, I wouldn't be overly concerned about light side being able to deploy much. I probably would have left. Okay, so he moves Mitaka over and then moves Grievous that way. So okay, so he's got both sides still, plus here. Yeah, and at this point I think he's just trying to maximize his damage. Hey, thanks for watching, Warwell Bubbler. Let's see what else we got going on here. He's just going to try and cycle a card back to go look for a shuttle that he doesn't play. Command's been grabbed. I wouldn't expect to see him draw any cards at this point. Oh, Mryellow is just trying to draw up at this point. He realizes this game's over. So he's just trying to keep the differential keep Darkside from putting any other cards back. And he's just going to drop and end the game. So we're going to get 15, 17, 19. Silverglen by 19 in game 1. That's certainly a wider margin than a lot of the other OCS playoff games have had. So that's always going to be something that's going to influence game 2 of a particular matchup. Congrats to Silverglen by winning by 19. I believe game 2 of this match will be played tomorrow, Monday at like 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully we'll be able to live stream that. I believe Queso is going to take care of that one because Mondays are his day off of work, which is good because I could definitely use a break after doing both of these reviews today. Still not feeling that great even though it's been a week. And then that'll be their game 2. We don't have any updates. Let's go look at the other matchups here. Game 2 between Profundity and RLMD. They just posted something about when they're playing. I think they're playing Wednesday, they said. Yeah, they're playing Wednesday at 3 p.m. I've asked them for their Game 1 replay link, so hopefully we can get that. And then we can do Game 1 and Game 2 on Wednesday. And then the final matchup would be a Rebel Spy versus No Limit. They have not disclosed any information. I wonder if they were just kind of waiting and seeing who won the other matchups. Let's pull up the bracket here. Because the winner of the game between Profundity and RLMD, I know RLMD won the first game. So if he were to win in advance, it would be a Rebel Spy versus No Limit. And I don't know if, obviously, No Limit and RLMD are very close real life friends, so I don't know if there'd be any type of conflict or whatever there, or how they're working something out financially, maybe some type of split. But we will go ahead and update and report All Stars as the winner on this match, moving him ahead. And yeah, so we'll kind of keep you guys updated on what's going on with the rest of the other remaining matchups. We'll get to our final 4. Obviously, with Thanksgiving coming up here in America, I know people are trying to get their games. At least these guys are going to get their games in before then, so we'll know these matchups. These matches will have their resolution done before the holiday, and then it's whatever these guys decide to do. But they only have until the weekend to either play or one of them concede. I believe a Rebel Spy conceded Game 8 of the World Championships this year to No Limit, as No Limit had a better chance of qualifying for Day 2 or for Day 3 or whatever. So I don't know if there's any type of reciprocity that's owed for that. I don't know. I'm just talking out my butt at this point. We'll see what happens with these guys, and we'll try and find out what's going on and get all that updated for you. Thank you guys for watching the streams today. Be sure and subscribe at the top right corner. If you haven't, you have a Twitch account, or if you have an Amazon Prime account, you get one. You can link it to your Twitch account, and then you get one free subscription per month. You do have to renew it each month, so even though you may have subscribed previously, make sure you come back and do that each month. It helps the Players Committee out. Thank you guys for watching, and Queso will be with you tomorrow for Game 2 of Silverglen and Mryellow. Have a good night, everybody.